Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. Work our way through just like we always do. Dollar yields, precious metals, and commodities ETFs that I follow. If you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com. We still have that coupon LEAP, L-E-A-P going on. If you'd like to try it out. We've got a question and answer session coming up at 7 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on Saturday. So I'll see everyone there who is a member. Let's dive in here. Let's see what's going on with the markets, and I will share my financial opinions. So the DXY slightly higher today. Yields were slightly higher on the short end of the curve, and it does look like we could continue higher with the dollar. Remember, a lot of this stuff, it's all correlated. The dollar, yields, and even the price of oil. So the oil price was down a little bit today, and dollar was slightly higher, basically flat. It's a bloody nose, is what I'll call it, which is a continuation pattern to the upside. And yields were up a little bit, but they were mixed. The 2-year yield was up a little bit today, so that's in a strong uptrend on the short term. We are going to come up to a little bit of resistance that's coming up, and this kind of looks like to me a shoulder, a head, and a shoulder that is developing that we could break and basically be putting in a bottoming pattern. It's very similar to what oil looks like, but I noticed that today looking at it. The 10-year yield also doing something very similar. It's moving on up, basically flat, and we're right at resistance. And then the 30-year yield, we were slightly lower, much closer to mimicking oil. But I do think this will go on up. I think it's a bloody nose, and it still looks good. And I even have the same big old pattern here. Is this a inverted flag pattern? Still could be the case, but right now things look good to continue higher. TYX TNX ratio still inverting. This is generally not great for precious metals, but precious metals are holding on. They're doing very well. But the yield curve inverted, at least what I look at, the 30-year and the 10-year. So the 10-year went down while the or 10-year was up slightly. 30-year went down a little bit, inverting the curve a little bit further. So we're still at an opportune time and early in gold still. TLT, which is bond prices, slightly lower on the 20-year yield, right at support. And this more or less looks like a mini oil chart on a different time frame. And then the 2 and 10-year, again, the curve inverted just a teeny bit. And we'll continue to watch it. Gold up or down $7 an ounce for gold. And to me, this looks fantastic because we have basically a flat dollar, slightly stronger yields, and a yield curve that inverted. This is holding on very steady. I do think that we are going to go higher here with time. It's holding. Gold's holding on the when we have unfavorable market conditions, gold is holding. When more favorable conditions come, gold rips it. So I think we could see gold go up at the same time as oil, but they just go back and forth. So when oil has pullbacks, gold will go up. When gold goes up, the right market conditions, then oil may not pull back as much either. I think it's just going to kind of stair step higher, gold and oil taking turns. That's my guess. Not stating that there's any sort of logic behind that, but it just seems like whenever we get the right market conditions for either or, they go up, and then they are holding steady when things try to sell off. Silver up 1.4%. This is getting very interesting here because we're poking our head, we're turtle heading out of this trend line, and this could launch at any second. This is getting real close to launch. So I'm positioned. Let's let this thing rip if it wants to. Platinum still up today, looking really good, up about 1%. A little bit of selling pressure towards the end of the day. It was really ripping early day. But right now, it still looks good to go higher. And then palladium also getting a little bit of selling pressure towards the end of the day. I do think that this will grind its way on up, along with a lot of the other precious metals. That's looking good. XEU to gold ratio. People are buying up the mining companies. That is a very good sign, even in the face of gold being slightly lower. People are positioning. But again, we still haven't broken out against gold. So the gold and silver mining companies haven't broken out against gold yet. Um, I'm really interested in watching this and how this develops. And hopefully we can break it because I'm already in it. CRB index, we were up a little bit today with the CRB index. This looks fantastic for a continued move to the upside. Looks very, very strong to move higher at this time. Still looks really good. CRB to S&P 500, this is also starting to outperform. Downtrend broken. Let's rip, boys. Let's rip, fellas. And let's break out of this thing and get moving. Where the CRB index could outperform the S&P 500, think of increasing interest rate environment, a potentially stronger dollar, and rates are going to cause havoc on growth stocks and the stock market in general. So GDX was sideways today, but still looks good in my opinion to try to work its way on up with time. GDXJ bullish engulfing today, looking good to work its way on up. We are also against that resistance area. Now, I don't really have that drawn. I probably did it on a logarithmic. There you go. And we're right there trying to break out. It looks really good. And hopefully we can break. SILJ also peeking its head out right now. It's looking fantastic, saying, hey, look, guys, I'm about to run up. We still want to see it break. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to look across to our left. That is where resistance is going to come from. And we also want to break this level right in this area here. That area there is about 1050, we'll call it. We want to get above 1050. What that's going to do is it's going to create a higher high. And we've got the lows that are basically holding all through here, those lows. And then we want to create a higher high, and that's basically entering an uptrend. So that's what we're looking for. We want a higher low, we want a higher high, and we want to create that uptrend. And that's going to occur hopefully soon. If we can break the 1050 mark up here, and then on a pullback, we create a higher low. Crude oil down just a little bit. This is just a bloody nose is what I call it. It's a continuation pattern to the upside. Everything is still intact to go higher. TTF up 5%. Wow, that's a pretty big move. And it looks like we could go higher here. We're right at resistance. And then natural gas in America, obviously it's getting some selling pressure, down 3.5%. And we're putting in a bottom. Give it some time. It may take some months to bottom out. And I think it's going to provide a really good buying opportunity. Keep in mind, we have a wall of takeaway capacity coming towards the end of 2024. And it's going to be very interesting to see how they ramp production before that wall of takeaway capacity comes. How does that impact inventories? What does that do to price? And if they pull back too much now and we miscalculate something with power burn and weather, what's it look like if the takeaway capacity comes and we overcorrect the inventory to the downside? We could see a super spike in natural gas prices, potentially. I'm not stating that's the case at this time, but I could see how things could swing in either direction for this to occur. Our boy XOP, yeah, you know me, we were up today. It is a bullish engulfing, up 0.6%, and we're right at the neckline, guys. We're right there trying to break. This will be an interesting one to watch next week to see if we can get some traction to the upside. Looks really good. OIH is also up today. A little bit of selling pressure towards the end of the day with the wick at the top, but still looks very good from a monthly, from a weekly perspective. Everything looks really good to continue higher for the energy service companies. A lot of the individual companies also look incredibly good, and that would be one spot I would be looking very deeply in. Physical Uranium Trust, I know we've got a big up day today. We were up 5.6%. We're back within the pattern. Does this mean we bottomed? Maybe. We still have a lot of downside pressure coming in. We could be working that downside pressure off, and we could work our way on up. So what I'll say is, I don't want to be too early on this, but let's hope the momentum can continue here. We want to break this resistance level up around 28.50 or so. URA also getting a little bit of action, but again, guys, this doesn't look that great from a short-term perspective. What I look at is I look for the big red candles. We have a big red candle here, and we're struggling to come back up. It's not a surge to the upside, but Sprott Physical Uranium Trust didn't look that bad. So maybe, I mean, it's possible if we go on up, but I would say it's still likely that we could go lower. I know that sounds bad, but when I look at these things, whenever you have patterns that are inclined upwards, that generally means you're in a pullback. When they are declining in this direction, that generally means you're going to break to the upside. So in the short term, when you get a pattern that kind of squeezes up like this and you get these big selling pressure candlesticks in a row like that, it generally means that we could still have a probability of going lower. And it's in favor of going lower still. URNM, it's the same thing. We haven't necessarily overcome these big selling pressure candlesticks, these two big bearish engulfings, and the momentum coming lower. So I would be slow in my actions at this time. URNJ also, it's the same setup here. Whenever you get an angled upward move, it's generally in a pullback mode, and I don't see a necessary bottom yet, but I could be wrong, guys. I'm not stating this is why I don't try to trade the short term. This thing could rip, and I could be completely wrong on this. So again, I'm not doing anything with my shares. I'm just holding on. But historically, I would say that this probably still has further to pull back in the short term. PAN doesn't like the increasing interest rates. Still just moving sideways for solar. Now here's something, guys. Copper just ripping it. Jesus, look at this thing. This is a definite breakout. Is the economy coming back? Is something going on with the economy? Uh, but copper breaking out, I would be bullish. I can't not be bullish on copper here. Got to be bullish. COPX also ripping to the upside. Look at that move, 2.5% in COPX. And we are continuing to move to the upside. This was our consolidation here, and then the break. It looks really good. Lithium moving just flat, not really much to report there. REMX also kind of just moving flat. And this does have that upward angle, which makes me think we could still kind of puke to the downside for a little bit. But we'll see. S&P 500 down a little bit today. I am really surprised that we're still up here. But with interest rates going up and kind of the overall setup in oil and interest rates, has me a little bit surprised, but you know what? It's got a lot of momentum. It could hang out here for a little while and then work its way on lower, would be my guess. And then the NASDAQ down 1%. And we're kind of losing this momentum. Uh, and then eventually, I think we'll fall eventually. I'm not stating immediately, just saying eventually. KRE up 0.5%. I do think this will go higher, but again, it's really dependent on yields. If yields make a run to the upside, I could very well see it break down. And that deals with all the bonds that they own and hold, and probably the loans that they make. With yields going up, they could make less money because they're making less loans. Emerging markets doesn't like the stronger dollar, stronger yields, but down a little bit today. We've got home builders that kind of shrugged it off to some degree, but this still is getting a little bit of selling pressure up here in the home builders ETF. We were up slightly today. Moo is up 0.4%. This is one that I think will go higher. I was looking at some of these companies in this, and it looks pretty good on some of them. Maybe not all of them, but some of them. They're looking like they're putting in bottoms. Iron ore moving on down, or we were down a little bit today, but it looks like it's trying to slow its pressure. Remember, when these things angle upward like this, generally a continuation pattern at the downside. When they angle downward, that generally is an indication of upward, but this one broke down. You can see the big gap lower there, like almost like somebody pushed it lower. Aluminum up 1%. This looks good to cruise its way on up. I really like aluminum here in a lot of the companies. Looks really good. Baltic Dry Index also cruising its way on up. It's looking good. We've got Newcastle coal up a little bit, and I do think this is bottoming. It might stay down for a while with natural gas. Be patient. Coal companies could be flinging around for the next few months or so, and then I think we'll eventually get our way to the upside. This is a breakout of a base and a retest. And I like buying the retest areas, general location. Bitcoin getting slammed down 3.4%. We had that bearish engulfing candlestick there, and we have one here. Bigger selling pressure does come in, and we could see some selling pressure or sideways movement occur. Ethereum also getting hit today, down 5.6%. And is it related to the technology sector, the NASDAQ and stuff? It could be. It could be. We have a bearish engulfing here, which is the start of this potential move to the downside. How big is it? I don't know, but we'll watch it together. SMCI also getting some selling pressure. Like I said, you get a peak. There's your bearish engulfing there. Comes on down. Now we're starting to kind of roll on over, and we'll see if this rolls over. Look at NVIDIA too. I'm kind of curious to watch this stuff to see if it does roll. It's down a little bit, but still early in NVIDIA. There's your bearish engulfing there. It's a big bearish engulfing too, and that's generally an end of trend candlestick. Let you guys know. But that's what I've got for today, guys. Give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website if you guys want to partake in what individual companies look good to me. You can see what I'm buying. Look at my portfolio. I wouldn't necessarily buy all the companies that are in my portfolio today. Some of them are ripping to the upside, and the risk reward isn't as good as when I entered it, but it's still good. And I'm holding on for that big momentum move. I think oil looks really good. I think we're going to work our way on up this summer in oil. I think energy service companies have some really good entry points, really good entry points there. Gold and silver companies, if we get this big move out of silver that I think could potentially be coming, I think should be positioned probably already in some of that stuff for that break, or position and then position bigger on the break. However you guys want to manage that yourself. But yeah, that's what I'm seeing in the markets today, guys. So we'll catch you later. This is Finding Value.